The Philadelphia Eagles are in a precarious position, one that they were not in during the entire postseason run. They're favorites tomorrow night. James Worthington is here. I am Adrian Fedq. The road to Atlanta begins tomorrow night. Entire postseason run. And I hear my echo. They're favorites tomorrow night. James Worthington is here. I am Adrian.
A little bit of echo. I don't know what's going on there, but we are here, and we're excited for the season to start, man.
I don't know where that's coming from. I'm sorry.
A little bit of echo. I don't know what's going on there, but we are here. All right.
So I guess we're good.
Okay. So, sorry about that.
I think I had a tab open because I was letting everyone know that I was at work, and because I set this show up a while ago. So I think that's what it was. So I apologize for that, James. Anyway, let's get into this game right away. All right. Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, you haven't been here all offseason, so I'll ask you, do you like the way that the Eagles are handling this with Nicky? And
I mean, personally, just the way they handled the whole Wentz injury situation and him kind of coming back, I don't really remember in my lifetime seeing anything really handled like this. I mean, they kind of had Wentz not full go, but he was taking, first team reps. He was out there. He looked really good in OTAs, and they kind of dialed it back a little bit. And they've been, they really haven't said anything in the media, which I understand. They don't want to show their hand or anything. But if I remember, like just last Friday, Lane Johnson was on record saying that he thought it would be Wentz starting, and it comes out it's Foles, and it comes out that he's not fully cleared for contact and all this stuff. So personally, I kind of wanted them to take a cautious approach. I thought that with Carson Wentz, it was probably unlikely he would start week 1. But when we saw all of his action in OTAs, he looked great. Everything looked awesome. So I was actually kind of had myself believing that Wentz would start the season. Now, it turns out, as we know, Foles is going to start. I personally don't really like the way they handled it in terms of just being a little shady, being a little like they're different players giving different messages. But that being said, Foles did just win us the Super Bowl. I think that they've deserved or earned at least just a little trust from us. I know how we are as Philly fans. We're nitpicking everything. We're looking at all the details. We're going to look at the preseason and how bad, the offense did look at times and pick it apart. But at the end of the day, I think Doug proved last year he's an offensive mastermind. I think there's going to be a game plan ready to go. And I trust us. Ultimately, I do trust us up front to kind of take advantage of Atlanta's weakness because they're more of a finesse.
There you go. All right. So you talked about Wentz and Foles. I don't need to get into my thoughts anymore because we already know them. But I will say this. I lost out on an opportunity tonight. And maybe I didn't lose out on this opportunity. We'll find out what you have to say. But a couple weeks ago, I had someone reach out to my YouTube asking if they could use some clips of mine. I asked them what it was for, and it was very vague. So I decided to ignore it. Turns out the NFL Network aired a show tonight called the Philly Special. Turns out that's what that was for. And I ignored it. But then again, you know what? All it would have been about was just me bashing Doug Peterson. So at the end of the day, I'm kind of glad I wasn't on it.
I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't want to have my opinion out there bashing Dougie P. And I know I was right there with you. We were questioning everything he was doing year one. You and I didn't think he had it in him. We didn't like the hire. But they do say, any exposure is good exposure. So who knows? But, I think, Doug Peterson's done a great job. You and I were both wrong about that. And we're on record for it. So maybe at the end of the day, you saved a little face there.
All right. So Nick Foles, what does he have to do to be successful? Or actually, it may not even be him. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's all going to start up front, like I just said. The way the Eagles win football games, especially against teams like Atlanta, is in the trenches. I heard an interesting stat. I mean, it's not really a stat. It's just basically the results of the games. But Atlanta played Minnesota, they played us, and they played New England last year. And I don't think they put up over 10 points. I think they put up 10 on us, like 9 on New England and 7 on Minnesota or something like that. And all 3 of those teams were pretty physical up front. Maybe not as much New England, but Minnesota for sure. I mean, Atlanta's built on finesse. Look what they spent their first-round pick on. They had a bunch of glaring weaknesses, and they chose to pick Calvin Ridley, who he's a great player, but do they really need another receiver? Especially with, I think, another year with Steve Sarkisian and Matt Ryan together, I think they'll be a little bit better. They'll be on the same page a little more. I think they'll be a little more aggressive and get back to where their success was 2 years ago. But in my opinion, they could have bolstered up their defensive or offensive line a little bit, and they didn't. So I think the Eagles are going to eat up front, and I think if we're going to have success, it's going to be up front. Nicky Six, man, I mean, he's got to just stay calm back there. I think they're going to have a game plan in place. Mm-hmm. And I think as long as he gets protection, some time to throw the football, we'll be fine. I also think they're going to lean heavily on Ajayi, not only this game, but all year. Yeah. We can get into that later if you want to. My opinion's on that.
Well, actually, we can kind of get into some things right now. So the 3 keys to the game that I think, I'm just going to run them off right now. 1, the offensive line. You got to protect Nicky Foles. You got to make that happen. Number 2 is the defensive line has to eat. I look at Brandon Fusco going up against Fletcher Cox. Penetration. Let me do that again. I was a little off-season deep. Hold on.
Yeah.
Fletcher Cox and some deep penetration. Deep. He's going to get help from Alex Mack, but Brandon Fusco against Cox, it's not a good matchup for Atlanta.
Not at all. And I mean, Fletcher Cox said he wants to be the defensive MVP. I mean, he seemed this year, he was at all the workouts. He was there, all the interviews. His sense of tone has just seemed like he's kind of like matured a little bit as a player. It's almost like he kind of respects the craft a little more. Like he's starting to kind of, from what I've heard, develop some more finesse moves and some kind of, basically just, he was all power before. He's a great bull rusher. I mean, pretty much if he starts developing these finesse moves and these secondary type moves and starts really looking at it as a craft, I think it's going to be scary, man. And I seriously think he's matured. The Super Bowl wins made him realize how good he can be, how much he means to this defense in the city. And I look to him for him to have not only a big game, but a huge season. I really do. And I think naturally he's going to look at, Aaron Donald, who is obviously in LA, and everybody's a little nervous about them with all the acquisitions they made. And he's going to look at Aaron Donald, look at that contract, even though he got paid, and say, hey, man, I can be just as good as him. And I think he put the work in the offseason. I expect we'll see it.
Yeah, so those were the first 2 keys. And then the third key, I think, is Jay Ajayi. But the thing with Jay Ajayi is he's going to be successful if Nick Foles is successful, because you got to get out of those 8-man boxes. So 2 years ago, the Eagles ran for 208 yards. Last year was less than 100 because Nick Foles struggled. They couldn't get the passing game going. So the offense kind of became run-oriented. And Jay Ajayi was kind of held up. So it was less than 100 yards that the Eagles gained. I think they can gain about $150. So I think that they'll kind of meet in the middle here between last year's game and the year before. You can run on Atlanta. And if Nick Foles, if he finds some success, and by the way, it's not going to be easy to find success on the outside because, that's where Desmond Trufant and Robert Alford are. So where he may find success, I think, is going to be in the middle over the middle of the field, the seams and the middle of the field, the 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz. I think this is where you have to look, and I think you got to look in the slot, Nelson Aguilar going up against Brian Poole.
100% too. And to go back on the run game real quick, Atlanta, they're kind of built outside in. So if you can kind of get these DNs to come upfield a little bit, you might be able to hit some stuff inside, especially with the Giant. If we can get our blockers like Kelsey and Wisniewski to the next level and get on those quick linebackers, I really think we can run the football. In terms of the pass game, I definitely think you're spot on there. I mean, our strength right now with Alshon being out, is Matt Collins out? I heard
I think he's going to be out too. Yeah,
that's why. So we're gonna have to rely on Ertz, Goddard, and Aguilar, and it's gonna be up the middle. So and honestly, that's kind of where our passing thrived last year at certain points in most of the season. So I think they're definitely gonna have to lean on them. I mean, that's where the talent is naturally. And I agree with you. There's some matchups that we can definitely take advantage of in the seams.
Yeah. And the other thing about the penetration, so something I talked about in the Behind Enemy Line show yesterday. So for Atlanta, for them to be successful, they need to give Matt Ryan time. They like the deep play action, get it to Julio, go routes, deep posts, deep crosses. You need time to materialize that route. So if the Eagles can generate consistent pressure, obviously that disrupts the timing for that. So I that's another key to the game right there. You got to disrupt the timing. As good as Ronald Darby looks in the preseason, it's still a mismatch there for him.
100%. And a little thing that I'm a tad worried about is, and I think we talked about this last year, is the running backs coming out of the backfield in the flat, or kind of going over the middle. Maybe fake pass blocking and having a late release. Both of their running backs are extremely talented. Austin Hooper should take another step forward. He's not amazing, but he's solid. So even if we obviously, I think all year, if our defense is going to be successful, it's going to start with the defensive line. I mean, same stuff we said last year. It's pretty much the same team. But if they do kind of come out and look at it and say, okay, we have Calvin Ridley in the slot, if they're confident in him, and if they think their running backs come out of the backfield and kind of go over the middle, maybe, and it might not happen, but they could go with a Giants type game plan with a 3-step drop, get out, get rid of it quick. Personally, I'd rather see that, just because I don't think they have the talent that New York has inside and the quick step drop to do that stuff to us. I think Atlanta, when they thrive, is when they protect Matt Ryan and when he's able to take those shots down the field. I mean, obviously, you go back to what they looked like 2 years ago. But at the end of the day, I mean, our defensive line is an elite unit. Even without Tim Jernigan, I mean, Haloti Ngata was a good depth signing. Destiny Vaya, we'll see what he has. But Fletcher Cox is a top 3 interior defensive lineman. I'm not sure if Brandon Graham's going to play. If he does, it's not full 100%. But he's still, in my opinion, an absolute man-child. Derek Barnett, I think, is going to have a huge year. And then, obviously, we still have Chris Long. We have Michael Bennett. I mean, I'm drooling here, man. I'm drooling.
Yo, so the crazy thing about the cornerbacks is just how much better they've gotten over the last 2 years. I mean, I remember heading into last summer, I was freaking out about the cornerback spot. I'm like, oh, my God. It's great that they have the pass rush, but if you can, quick 3-step drop, you can beat the Eagles' defense. But now, if Ronald Darby is as good as he's looked during the preseason, you got a number 1. Jalen Mills keeps getting better. He's in his 3rd season now. He's your number 2, and you got Sidney Jones in the slot. So something that was a huge weakness just a few years ago all of a sudden has become somewhat of a strength. And you still have the defensive line.
Yes. And honestly, man, in Howie we trust, because 2 years turnaround, that's all him. I mean, our defensive backfield 2 years ago was the worst probably in the league. I mean, we've come a long way, and how happy I am considering where this league's gone in terms of how pass heavy it is. Sidney Jones, I still think is going to be an absolute monster. I think he still has a legitimate chance to work his way and start on the outside, maybe a couple weeks in. Darby, like you said, he's looked absolutely incredible in the preseason. He never really got a chance to get rolling last year. He got injured early, and that kind of shakes up your whole rhythm and your mojo when you're coming back from an injury and trying to rework your way into a defense. We never really got to see him, so I'm really excited to see what we see out of him. And then Jalen Mills, I mean, he just battles. He's a battler. He's not the most skilled. He's not the most talented, but he plays. He plays 100% every time. Does he hold a little bit? Yeah, who doesn't? You know what I mean? So our defensive backfield, well, the corners especially, it's now a strength on the football team. And for that to happen in 2 years, man, I mean, that's such a testament to Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas. And like I said last year, we are blessed to have them.
Yeah. And Julio Jones, 4 straight games going over 100+ yards. So we'll see if that continues as well. Going back to the linebacker situation, obviously Nigel Bradham is suspended. So depth at linebacker is going to be felt in this game. Usually the Eagles, they kind of play that base nickel, and they only use 2 linebackers. Well, unfortunately, you're missing one of those 2 studs. So you'll have Jordan Hicks, but who's your other guy going to be? We'll see about that. But I think this is something where, again, you can exploit if you're the Falcons. So you got Devontae Freeman coming out of the backfield. You got Tevin Coleman, and then Austin Hooper. So those are 3 matchups that I'm a little worried about.
Definitely. And I mean, even like the potential slant with Ridley, if he is the one playing the slot, we don't know how good he's going to be. He was obviously highly touted coming out. So we'll see about that. The one thing I will say is I'm in on Jordan Hicks this year. I think he's going to have a big year. I'm not saying, he's not going to get hurt in the future, but it is his contract year. And, players typically tend to have really good years in their contract years. So if he can stay healthy, which I think he will, I think he's going to have a major year because, he's an all-pro player, or at least a Pro Bowl player when he's on the field. I don't know who the other starting linebacker is going to be. Have they named anybody yet? Is it going to be Jerry? Is it going to be
Yeah, not sure if it's going to be Camus, Jerry, whoever.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, like Jerry's more athletic in my opinion. He's quicker, but that's a huge question mark. So that's a legitimate concern. And it's going to come back to can the corners play and can they hold up coverage? You know, the safeties, McLeod and Jenkins are going to do a good game, at least I think.
Yeah.
And I think the D line's going to do good. I mean, obviously they've got Alex Mack. I think they still got Jake Matthews, right?
Yeah, their line's like pretty good.
It's decent.
Solid. It's
but it's not.
They do have a right guard that's a problem. So yeah, Jake Matthews is your left tackle. Your right tackle is Ryan Schrader. Levitre is your left guard.
Levitre is pretty good.
Yeah, and he didn't play in the game last year.
Yeah.
And then obviously Alex Mack, one of the better centers in the game.
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, I'm going to sit here as an Eagles fan, call me biased, but even though it's on paper, our defensive lines, the way we're going to roll these guys through, by the third, fourth quarter, I mean, if their O-line's if they're not huffing and puffing, I'd be shocked because we're going to be rolling these guys in. They're going to stay fresh all game. The one thing, obviously, the concern is the second defensive tackle spot. And they could maybe exploit that, and having that lack of a second linebacker there, if they can get Hicks blocked out, it might be an issue. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I really do think that on paper, I think the Eagles are just too physical.
Good thing they're like an outside zone kind of team. So they're not really going to be running between the tackles anyway. So they actually fit what the Eagles do to a T when it comes defensively and stop and run. They're a very athletic defensive line. So you try to run outside, not going to work. He had I think it was 7 yards on 10 carries. It was the number off the top of my head.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's the case, then of course, we should have some success there. I also think just generally this season, the Eagles' run defense should be strong like it was last year. And what the Falcons like to do, like we just talked about, they like to spread the field. They like to take shots down the field. So I think that even if it is close and if it's kind of a slugfest in the beginning, you're still going to see them take those shots. So I think a lot of the plays at least 2 years ago, and especially in that Atlanta game 2 years ago, there were some shots down the field that kind of, if Julio Jones, I don't know if you remember that drop he had, that could have changed everything. So I think there's going to be some shots that really could change the outcome of the game, and that's going to come back to the corners and the safeties. And like we just talked about, it should be a strength this year. I hope.
Let's get back to Jay a little bit. From what I'm reading, I don't know if this is going to be true or not, but it seems like they're going to use Jay more this year. They usually go running back by committee. So I'm curious how the carries are going to get distributed. He's in a contract year. So if you're the Eagles, I feel like you might as well get the most out of him if you can.
That's exactly what I think, and that's what I've been saying to, everybody I've talked Eagles football with all offseason. I think they look at it this way. I think they like what they have in Corey Clement, whether he's a feature back or whether he's a part of basically a two-back focused system. It doesn't matter because Jay Ajayi is in his contract year. They don't have to re-sign him after this. They know he has bad knees. So why not, as much as I hate to say it, why not run him into the ground? I mean, you can give him 250 touches this year. I'm sure he'll be productive. And he holds up. I mean, he's talented. He should produce. And then you can keep Corey Clement healthy. You can have him learning. You can still get him his touches, and he'll still develop. And have him for next year. And if you want to bring in another guy and have him kind of just lead it that way with two, it's fine. But this year, I mean, we have a workhorse guy in Ajayi. You might as well use it. As kind of cruel as that is to say, it's the way football is a business, and that's the way I see it's going to happen, honestly.
Run him to the ground. Give him 20-plus carries a game. If he's successful, keep feeding him in the rock,
And he'll go get his money elsewhere. And it'll speak volumes if we don't re-sign him.
Yeah.
He'll go get it. Someone will pay him. Someone will pay him, and his knees are as much as I hate to say it, he's not as fast as he was 2 years ago. You see him when he runs; he's slower, but he is powerful, and he's got good ball carrier vision, in my opinion. He's got a good first step.
Yeah, he does have some vision. I'll give you that. All right, let's kind of move on in this game. So I guess you kind of did talk about what you're worried about. I mean, is there something in particular that you're so worried about that they could lose this game?
I mean, besides the obvious of like everybody saying the Super Bowl hangover and all that, because that I think it is a little blown out of proportion. I think I heard something where the record of teams that won the Super Bowl at home, like it's pretty good.
Yeah,
but we do see what happened to a team probably the best team, the standard in the NFL, New England. They got killed in their own house last year by Kansas City. And, Atlanta's a legit team. So they're going to be ready to play. That's my biggest concern is just kind of us not being ready to play, certain holes. I think Bradham being out's a major factor. Alshon being out is a major factor.
Yeah, because they're not doing anything on the outside. They might you still have to try and get completions on Trufant and Offer just to keep them honest, but
yeah,
nothing's going to happen outside.
And it would have been nice to have him out there because I feel like Wallace and him complement each other really well. I mean, Mike Wallace is a huge upgrade over Torrey Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Torrey Smith was great for the locker room. He was great to coach up the receivers, but, he's a little older. Mike Wallace is older, but he's still quick. He hasn't lost his speed yet. So even if he's not putting up huge numbers, he really is going to take the top off of defense. We say Torrey Smith kept him honest. Well, Mike Wallace is still one of the fastest players in the league. So he's still going to keep them honest. And having Alshon on the other side of that, potentially Goddard, Aguilar, and Ertz just working the inside, it's honestly just they complement each other so well. So having one of those pieces out, I think just kind of screws up a lot of just the chemistry of the offense and the passing game, obviously.
Yeah. The Super Bowl hangover point. Here's kind of my thoughts on it. So this is the first ever Super Bowl. This is the first time you're doing this. This is something new. This isn't like you're the Patriots and you've done it 5-6 times already with Tom Brady. So last year, that Super Bowl hangover, that to me was not surprising. But for tomorrow night, when they raise that banner and that place is lit, like Gillette Stadium doesn't have the passion that we have. The passion's going to come out. The players are going to be fired up. They're not losing tomorrow.
Well, that's what I think. And, for those who've watched all the years, that I have season tickets. So I'll be there and I'll see that banner drop because I sit right across from that. And I know how crazy it was last year. I was there. I felt that environment and just the unity of the Eagles fans, the way we come together, the way we make noise, how seriously we take it. The players know that. And that was one of the things we talked about all year last year is, how close they were as a team, how the city drove them together and how much they cared. And I think that was completely obvious in the parade and the speeches and how much it meant to the players when they won. So, yeah, it's going to be a huge emotional moment when that banner drops. But I also think they're going to feel the vibe in the stadium. They're going to be back. They're going to think about last year and how fun it was for them to do that and for them to come out and make a statement against Atlanta and beat, I think, a legitimate Super Bowl contender in Atlanta. I'm not saying they might win it, but I think they have a legit chance to make it there. That would be huge. It would look great for them. And I think that the city would respond so well. I also think, just if they even are thinking back to last year in the beginning, Atlanta's going to come out and hit them in the face. And that, in my opinion, as a former athlete, I never played at a high level, but just as a competitor, you don't want to let that happen on your home field. So that if they do come out and Atlanta scores quick, they'll wake up, kind of like what happened with Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, it happened last year against Atlanta too. They got down 6-0.
Yeah. And then we did have some lucky plays in that game, that interception or non-interception to Torrey Smith.
We had some lucky plays, but they had some lucky plays too because I watched the game back. I forgot about the punt, the muff punt.
Oh yeah, dude, I totally forgot about that too. And I'll say we got a little lucky. I think there could have been some PI called on the Julio play, unfortunately.
Well, the first play of the game, the duck.
Yeah, the last play too, man.
Well, they weren't scoring on that play because their red zone woes were a problem all year.
Well, and the Eagles, I don't know if you saw it, but the Eagles knew what was coming right away.
Oh, yeah. Well, they knew what was coming because Steve Sarkisian is one of the most predictable play callers in the league. And he's the one that is holding Atlanta back.
I agree. Supposedly, I read a story that him and Matt Ryan are, they're on a better, they're on better terms this year, and they've kind of talked through this offseason and stuff. And you'd think Sarkisian should be to get there, to get to where he is as an offensive coordinator, should have some sense of intelligence to use the talent he has the way it should be used. So I, as a NFL fan, I think it's possible that he takes a step forward, but last year was a freaking train wreck, man. I mean, you saw the difference, the drop-off. Matt Ryan went from an NFL MVP to, statistically wise, an average quarterback, up slightly above average quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how much of a difference an offensive coordinator can make. Now, obviously, it's his second year now, so there should be an improvement. And you talked about it a little bit, but I am just not a Sark guy. I'm just not a Sark guy. If he's not on this team, if he's not on the Falcons as the offensive coordinator, and they brought somebody else in, I think the Falcons are a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I mean, and it's well, their talent on paper, of course they are,
Yeah.
and you very well might be right. If Sarkisian doesn't change his ways, if he's not open to hearing some criticism and adjusting his philosophy to match the talent, it's not going to work. Now, will he? That remains to be seen. So, and you also bring up an interesting point, obviously, about the offensive coordinator stuff. Obviously, Doug Peterson, he calls the plays and he, is in charge of the game plan. But we are down Frank Reich, we're down DeFilippo, and Mike Rowe is now the offensive coordinator. It is a little bit of a concern, in my opinion, the change in personnel there and the coaching staff. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any concerns, or do you just say, "In Doug, I trust"? What are you thinking?
If it was Jim Schwartz, I'd be concerned, but it's.
I hear you, man. I'm not too. I'm not too concerned because Doug calls the plays either. But I think we're going to find out in the first, maybe not, I guess, because Wentz unhealthy. But once Wentz is in, I think we're going to find out just how much Reich and DeFilippo meant to the offensive success.
Yeah, yeah.
I personally, me, I'm a Carson guy, so I think it's Carson and Doug, man.
Absolutely. Okay. I got nothing really else to say on the game. You got a prediction, or is there something else you want to talk about?
Honestly, man, I'm excited to get back down there as a fan and as a season ticket holder. I can't wait. I know it's going to be electric tomorrow. The lot should be good. Everybody's going to be nice and lit for the game. And I hope everybody brings their passion that comes, which I know we will. My prediction, I'll say this, and I told you this before the show. All offseason, I kind of had the feeling that Wentz would play. I knew how bad the injury was, but I hate to admit it, to be like a little biased, because I try to remain unbiased, but I think Carson Wentz is going to end up being a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think he's going to end up being one of the best to ever play, just because of how much he has between his ears and the situation around him. So I'm like, okay, well, AP came back and he did it. Why can't Carson? So I kind of had it in mind Carson was going to play, but I said if Nick plays, I'm worried about the Super Bowl hangover. I kind of think we might lose. Comes out, Carson's not playing. Now I'm sitting here going, is this crowd really, are they really going to lose in front of this crowd? And I can't bring myself to say they are. I think it's going to be ugly. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about Friday. I think you're going to, a lot of people are going to be calling the radio stations, bitching, but I think we're going to win. I got us 20-16. I think the defense is going to step up when we need them. I think the offense is going to do just enough. And like we talked about earlier, it'll be one in the trenches.
All right. I got 24-20. I think they're going to do enough between the middle of the field with Goddard and Ertz. I think this is how they move the ball. So I think you see the RPOs early. I think they're going to try to throw it early, and then they go to the run and Jay Ajayi to wear the Falcons defense down. So I think it's a coin flip game, though. I don't think this is a game that the Eagles are just going to win and dominate. I think this could be close.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they lose at all. I'm in a confidence pool. That is my lowest confidence game. It would not shock me if they lose. It wouldn't shock me if the Eagles have a slow start to the season. Excuse me. But once number 11's back on the field, man, I think all's going to be fine. I see us winning the division this year. I don't know what your thoughts are on the division. I'm sure you've talked about it, but the Eagles on paper.
I think the Eagles are going to be the only team that finishes over 500 in the division.
I said it to everybody, and I'm not as precise with my prediction, but I said I think New York, Dallas, and Washington all end between 6 and 8 wins this year. So I'm right.
I got the Giants at 8-8, and then the other two at 7-9.
Yeah, and that's the way. And it's not to say that division games will be easy, because they never are, but it's just the way the season's going to play out. And it again, it all comes back to Carson, man. When Carson gets on that field, I don't know. I'm sure. I know you read it. I don't know if anybody watching did, but that Players Tribune article that Zach Ertz wrote about how he affected the entire team. Once he's back on that field, man, he's a different player. He's a special player. So, Godspeed to his recovery, man. Because
All right. Hold on. I'm gonna see if I can get my phone charger real quick. So I've got a text from. So you don't know about David in Atlanta. David in Atlanta is a YouTuber here. He's a Falcons fan. So he wants to give me a call. Hold on. Because my battery, unfortunately, my phone's very low. So let me see if I can find my charger, and I'm gonna give him a call.
I know that struggle there, sir.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give him a chance to talk a little bit. All right. I'm going to put him on speaker. We'll see if we can hear him. David, I'm calling you. This is my phone.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Yo, what's going on, man? All right. So I'm gonna.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna give you a few minutes. I'm gonna give you.
Don't show his phone number to everybody watching.
Okay. Well, everybody knows this is David in Atlanta, formerly Sports Live in the ATL. I've been on with Adrian Bitterberg, giving him a hard time for the last month or so. But I got to tell you guys, I totally respect Philadelphia. I respect the championship. I know, a lot of Eagles fans, including Adrian, got a little upset at, my opinions on the Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz debate, the Falcons, the Eagles, the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying just because I'm in Philly. Yes, your boy's in Philadelphia right now for the game. But I respect your Super Bowl. I respect the fact because the Eagles and Falcons both had a history of 40, 50-plus years, happened to hear everybody laugh at us, losing in the playoffs and not winning championships. And now you guys finally got a chance to get that ring. So I got the utmost respect. But I also stick by what I said. The Falcons gave the Eagles your toughest test, 15-10, and I know Atlanta can do this, and I know Atlanta is really and highly capable of winning the Super Bowl. And for a lot of Eagles fans, they're always telling me, all of a sudden, the reality is starting to hit a little bit. For a month or so, I hear, oh, we're going to win, you're going to lose. But if you do win, it's not going to take anything back from what happened last year, and it's not going to be the Super Bowl. I understand, but it's week one. You got to start somewhere. Atlanta has a statement to be made going into Philly during your Super Bowl unveiling and getting a win. It's going to be a tough one. I see Atlanta winning. What's up, Sports Fury? I see you in the chat, sir. I see Atlanta winning. I would not be shocked to see the Eagles win. I plan on having a good time. I'm going to be with Nitro Free Eagles Philly for life. Hopefully, I'll get up with you, Adrian Bitterberg, if you're there. There's going to be a special guest I'm going to be popping on video with. Hanging out with a lot of Eagles fans. We're going to have a great time. I'm going to respect it. Kick off this season in the right way. And good luck to you guys and go Falcons. Now, what did you want to say, Mr. Bird?
Well, all I was going to say is this. All right, so here's the problem with the Falcons winning a Super Bowl. You have Steve Sarkisian, and I am just not a Sarkisian guy. How are you confident in him and his abilities that you think he can fix everything from last year, and all of a sudden you guys are going to be back to being the well-oiled machine you were 2 years ago?
Oh, you want me to answer that?
I mean, if you want to. I mean, I don't think he's any good. I think he's holding you back.
Yeah, I'm just surprised because I figured you would have had a lot to say for me. But if you want to break it down short, I'm not 100% confident in Steve Sarkisian. I'm not, but I believe like Kyle Shanahan in his first year with us, he was up and down. What's up, Philly 500? I see you in the Bitterbergs chat. So make sure you guys sub him up if you haven't already. Obviously, you are. But I just feel that in his second year, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I like the Kelvin Ridley addition. He showed some things in the preseason, even though I think the preseason is a joke. I think Eagles fans who reacted upon the Eagles preseason got to relax. You don't play everybody in the preseason. You don't run the same schemes So it is what it is, man. I just think the start season hopefully learns a lesson, and I believe I hope he's going to be motivated because Eagles fans, trust me, you have a lot more to worry about than Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. You got Devontae Freeman, you got Tevin Coleman, you got Justin Hardy, you got Austin Hooper, you got they got Calvin Ridley, you got people coming out of the backfield, it's just a lot of people on offense you got to work on. And not to mention Mohamed Sanu, and our defense has gotten better. He's going to move into his natural position. So, I mean, I see a lot of possibilities tomorrow, so we'll see what happens.
But again, it goes back to Steve Sarkisian because as talented as you guys are, and I told
smarter.
And I told Falcons Fury yesterday, yeah, I think you guys have the most talented offense in the NFC, but you got a dingbat for an offensive coordinator that doesn't know how to utilize his chess pieces. That's the problem here. And until you fire his ass, you guys aren't winning a Super Bowl.
Well, like I said, I mean, I don't know what you heard a bit about Adrian when Kyle Shanahan was here, but he was, yes, YT Darius, it's me, but I don't know if it's Sleeta. What's up, bro? He commented in your chat. Kyle Shanahan got hit pretty hard with not a lot of confidence going into week 2. And, and you saw what he did, so.
But there's a huge difference because the way he utilizes formations, his play calling is unpredictable. When it's Steve Sarkisian, if I'm sitting on a couch and I see 1st and goal and I know what the fuck you're running, that's a problem.
Right.
You know?
I understand. Look, it's going to be tough for him because he's going to be facing, the Eagles showed what a really good defense can do against an offensive coordinator who's not on his game. The Eagles did a lot of good things against us. But like I said, this is 7-8 months later, man, and everybody has positive outlook going to week 1, and it's not like we have a horrible team. I mean, if I was Cleveland or Miami or something like that, I would be like, hey, man, I'm just talking shit. But, Atlanta has a realistic chance if they can get their act together. So, I mean, I have no reason but to be positive.
I'm scared for you, man, because of Sark. That's what it is. That's just the honest truth for me. I'm not a Sark guy. I don't think he's ever been any good at Washington, USC, wherever he's been. He's always been a joke. He might even be a worse play caller than Chip Kelly, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, he has a lot to prove for sure. But, I mean, it's going to come down now. All the talking that we've done, and me and Eagles fans, everything. I had a great time battling a lot of y'all these last couple months. But it's now coming down to tomorrow. So, are you going to be at the game, man?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I got teased. So I thought I was going to get credentialed for the season, and it didn't happen. Unfortunately, we got rejected for the Falcons.
Sorry about that. I know how much you're looking forward to it.
Yeah. So basically, the deal is this: more national people are covering the Eagles this year. Obviously, coming off a Super Bowl, so guys like Peter King are going to get credentials over me. That's the problem.
Right.
So I'm hoping to get to a couple games though. It would be awesome.
Okay. But if you are able to, so you're not going to be able to make it to the game, or are you going to be there?
Yeah, I mean, I have to cover the game for Philly Influencers, so I have to do videos and stuff. So unfortunately, I can't make your tailgate, but maybe we can do some Friday or something.
Well, we'll keep your phone going. Maybe I'll send you a text or something throughout the game, and just tell your opinions are on the game.
Okay.
As it unfolds.
All right, that sounds good.
I got to get, but I saw your stream pop on, and I wanted to pop on because I know we've always tried to do something, but good luck tomorrow, man. Congratulations, Eagles, on your Super Bowl championship, and we'll see what Atlanta does tomorrow.
All right, appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you.
No problem, man. And good luck to you in your future endeavors, sir.
Yeah, thank you. See ya.
No problem, man.
All right. So David Atlanta chimed in. What did you think?
I'll say, I do see like I said, the potential for Sarkisian to improve.
The potential is there.
Potential, yeah. No. I was in agreement with you. All I'm gonna say is we beat them last year. While it was a close game, the only really big addition they made was Calvin Ridley, who's a rookie. So we got some guys coming back on the defense. Got some additions. Yeah, we're short Bradham, but I mean, come on, man. To list all the weapons and say that we got to watch out for them. Well, what did we do last year? Like we beat them. So I mean, it's going to be a close game, like we talked about, and both teams should be playoff teams. And I respect Atlanta a hell of a lot. But I mean, man, for them to come into Philly on this night, that's a tall task. It's a tall task.
What's the difference between him and Shanahan? Like, it's like a touchdown difference. Like, instead of scoring 20,
at least. I mean, we'll look at the difference. You just look to make it easy. Look at the difference in Matt Ryan.
Yeah, actually, you can go back and look at what they scored 540 points.
Yeah,
and they scored less than 400 last year.
Yeah,
and it goes from 38 touchdowns to 20.
Yeah, I mean,
Julio Jones only scored 3 touchdowns.
That's insane. I mean, he's one of the biggest red zone threats on the outside in the league, and he has 3 touchdowns. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it for tonight. I think that's it. I got to get home. It's 10:30 already.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Final comments. All I'm going to say, man, go Birds. It's repeat season. Starts tomorrow. road to number 2, baby. I can't wait, and I'm looking forward to a great year.
Yeah. So I will be here tomorrow night with a recap with Philly 500. I unfortunately I thought I was going to the game, so I don't even know if I'm going to get to a game this year. I don't know, but at least we're credentialed for the Phillies, Sixers, and Flyers.
I will hopefully be celebrating a victory and texting you things that at least make sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens.
I wanted to go to the game to celebrate with E-Rock. I mean, he just got
he just got the NBC deal, and then their tailgate looks like it's going to be crazy.
Oh yeah, well they're burning the jersey tomorrow.
Yeah, that, and I saw that. That's awesome. We're roasting a pig in Jet Row, so anybody stops by, say hi.
All right, there it is. All right, we're gonna end this right now. Sorry, I usually look at comments, but like I'm trying to get out of here, so sorry about that. That's James Worthington. I'm Adrian Fedke. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for David in Atlanta for calling in. That was cool. Nice to him. So thank you, David. With that being said, we're out of here. James, Adrian, we out. See ya.